Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Today we are going to share with you the top 5 haunted roads in northern Illinois. Let's get weird. At number 5 on our list, we have Kennedy Hill Road, which is in the town of Byron. I believe it's west or southwest of Rockford. Kind of regretting that we didn't check this one out when we were out at Blood's Point Road, but there's always next time. Kennedy Hill Road has the haunting of a mysterious, beautiful woman who comes walking down the road at dusk or dawn in various stages of clothing. She's been described as wearing shorts. She's been described as wearing her underwear. She's been described as naked, or she's been described as wearing like a flowing white gown. People have tried to track down where this apparition is coming from. It sounds like there was a woman named Anne Bergman who had been murdered with her boyfriend along that road in 1962, and she kind of matches the description of what people were seeing. So they've kind of made the connection there that it was Anne Bergman who was haunting the place. Although, to make things more interesting, there are also stories of a cross-dressing man who may have been Anne Bergman's boyfriend wearing her clothes, or may have been somebody else entirely who died along that road, and now we have possibly our first recorded trans ghost walking down Kennedy Hill Road. Most of these sightings occurred in the 80s for some reason. I don't know why, if it was like the 20th anniversary of the killing or what, but definitely at dawn or dusk along Kennedy Hill Road in Byron. And apparently there were some pretty reputable witnesses, pretty respected townspeople, and not just one or two of them. We're talking 20 or 30 who reported these sightings.
Oh, man.
It was a big news story in Chicago and Rockford papers in the time as well. So I don't think there have been recent sightings, but it's still the talk of the town in Byron. I noticed somebody had a Facebook page dedicated to it, who had apparently gone to high school there and was very well versed on the legend.
Number 4 on our list is German Church Road. A very bad story, or very sad story, took place in 1956. It has to do with two sisters, the Grimes sisters. They were going to watch a movie, but apparently it was an Elvis Presley movie. At the time it must have just been popular, but yeah, they were driving to go there. Apparently on their way there, they just went missing. Later there's an investigation that took place. 1 year later, they found their bodies. They were sadly on the side of the road, dead. Nobody knows how their death took place, but after that, there have been countless sightings of potential ghost cars, but not just a car, just the sound. Like, nobody has seen the car, but like they might hear sounds behind them of a car pulling off to the side, maybe crashing. Very loud noises that you can't just ignore.
I also heard something about like a haunted farmhouse near there. That when they were doing the investigation, it was really weird that whoever was in that house just abandoned it during the police activity. And then later when they searched the house, they found like children's toys there and stuff. So they were thinking maybe the people who had abducted the girls were in that house. And, you know, people were reporting hauntings in that house, like hearing girls' voices and things like that. Weird thing to me, when they were doing the investigation, you know, a year later or several months later, before the house was eventually torn down, they found a goat tied up in the basement.
A goat?
A goat, which, you know, brings us back to the goats and ghosts of Galena. You know, there's a connection between goats and ghosts somewhere.
Yeah, that part I'm not really familiar with, but yeah, that would give more of a reason to make a theory about possible kidnapping.
Yeah, and you know, the goat thing has me wondering if there was some sort of ritual involved, some sort of, you know, magic thing they were doing. I don't know. it was a very disturbing story, and apparently to this day you can still experience that ghost car along that road.
Yeah, now we have not been there, but maybe sometime in the future we'll have to stop by.
Might be worth checking out. Number 3 on our list is Shoe Factory Road, which is another fairly local road that we sadly have not been to yet. It's in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. This is one where it seems like the haunting is more about the building than the road, but people still experience ghosts along the road as well. The story is that there's a farmer who killed his family and buried them under a circle of trees near the barn near the road. But there is still some confusion as to whether it was the farmer or the farmer's son or somebody else entirely who did the killing there. The thing that is often spotted is the ghost of a child playing with a knife, which leads people to believe that he may have been the one who killed his family with that knife. And the child is sometimes spotted along the road, sometimes spotted on the steps to the farmhouse. But that is Shoe Factory Road in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, and it's a fairly commonly traveled road, so I'm kind of surprised we don't hear more stories of ghost encounters there, if it is in fact still haunted. But we'll check it out.
Yeah, so the next one is Cuba Road, which it basically intersects with Rainbow Road. People have seen like hitchhikers on the side of the road. They've even seen like people in their back seat while driving on that road, which is very weird.
Mm-hmm.
But on Rainbow Road, I think if you go 35 miles per hour, what do you see? I can't remember.
Well, I don't think it's technically Rainbow Road. I think it's the offshoot of Rainbow Road.
Okay.
We did it before on our investigation. We went up a hill. It was like a very rich neighborhood.
Yeah.
But you go up the hill at 35 miles per hour, and I thought you'd see a child.
Yeah, the child who unfortunately was killed when a heavy stone bird bath or something fell on his head.
Oh, okay.
Yikes.
I wish I could remember the name of the road. We'll have to go back through our old podcast to find it, but it was named after a girl. It was named after the developer's daughter. But it used to be just a driveway to the mansion, breaking off of Rainbow Road. But then when he developed it into a subdivision, they changed the name to some girl's name. Yeah, that was the 35-mile-an-hour one. But Rainbow Road itself apparently had a haunted mansion or haunted asylum on it at some point.
Yeah, the mansion apparently used to be an asylum, but it was turned into a mansion and eventually it was torn down.
Mm-hmm. And is that the one that randomly reappears to people?
I think that was Cuba Road.
Oh,
People
okay.
saw a house that appeared and disappeared. I
Right.
don't know.
There's so much in Barrington.
Yeah.
When there's so many wild stories, it's really hard to keep track of them because they're so common.
Right. Basically anything can happen to you in the Cuba Road area. You can see a disappearing house. You can have a gangster appear in the backseat of your car. You can have a phantom car from the 1930s appear on the road behind you. And that's before we even get into White Cemetery, which is on Cuba Road.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. People have seen like orbs in White Cemetery. Can't remember what else they see. Do you remember by any chance?
I remember the orbs. I thought there was a ghostly figure coming out of the mist at some point. Yeah, definitely just a lot of activity in that whole area from like White Cemetery to Rainbow Road. We've been there a couple times actually, and we got some creepy vibes from time to time, but we haven't really seen anything there to match any of these other stories. But I think that's probably on our list to revisit periodically.
Yeah.
Especially in the fall, when you get that good fall haunting feeling that close to Halloween. I think that's when we need to really revisit some of these ghost roads.
Yeah.
I love ghost road investigations, by the way, because you don't even have to get out of the car. There's no mosquitoes. There's no 4-mile hikes like we did at Holy Hill recently. You just keep driving, and maybe the ghost shows up, maybe he doesn't. If not, you stop, get some nachos, and head home. Which brings us to our final number 1 on our list of haunted roads in northern Illinois, a road that we have investigated called Bloods Point Road. This is in, I believe, Belvedere, Illinois, very close to Rockford. And there was quite a lot that went on at this site. There was a witch named Beulah.
Yeah, I think it's Beulah.
She either killed a family or was killed by a man who didn't want her interacting with his family.
Yeah, I think the main idea of her specifically, like, as an individual, she was deep into some witchcraft, and she apparently did some pretty bad things, and of course a potential murder of herself, but she hung her children on the bridge that is very famous. Very unfortunate.
And then there was a bus that apparently went off the side of the bridge.
Yeah, that I'm still to this day not completely familiar about how that happened.
Yeah.
Did like a wheel just pop and then he had to turn?
Well, some people say that Beulah actually caused it. Like, she either lured the bus driver to take the turn, or he had swerved to try to avoid her, or something. But there are a lot of people who blame the witch for that accident.
It's a very suspicious story to me, though, because a lot of people have said, or some people have said, that the bus never even existed.
Right.
Went off the bridge.
There are people who say that Beulah didn't exist either, or at least not there. They claim that she haunted a completely different area on the other side of Rockford.
Yeah, there's been several sightings in Illinois with Beulah involved.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to tell what's truth and what was cobbled together from other legends. And, I will say from our investigation, we were across that bridge a dozen times, and we went to the nearby cemetery, which is also supposedly haunted. I think it's called the Bloods Point Cemetery.
Yeah.
We had some strange electromagnetic spikes on our EMF detector, and we also had a recording of this weird static burst. And we were using an old school tape recorder because I subscribe to the theory that old school equipment is more likely to catch stuff than the newer high tech equipment is.
Yeah.
But we had asked a question of Beulah or whoever was on the bridge while we were kind of parked on the side of the bridge, and we got that strong burst of static like we got nowhere else on any of our recordings.
Yeah, and normally on those older recordings, there's a little bit of background static, but this, you're across the room and you're listening to the tape recording. I could still clearly hear the very loud static.
Yeah, it was like something was trying to answer but couldn't form a word.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to go back there sometime with our spirit box and see if maybe we can get something a little clearer on that. And certainly do more recordings and check the place out more.
One thing I want to mention about the EMF reading they got, that was right on the bridge. It's right on one of the ends of the bridge. So we felt like if there was a bus, that may have been where the bus went over the bridge.
Right.
But we're not sure.
And it definitely wasn't something electrical, because we had driven over the bridge a dozen times and not had that spike. It was just that one particular moment while we were actually parked on the bridge in that spot. That was when that thing lit up, as if something, as if we had found the magic spot. And it did kind of feel like, I don't know why I chose that spot to park, but something drew me there. And it's interesting that that's where we got the spike, and that's where we got the answer on the tape recorder.
Yeah.
So those are the most haunted roads in northern Illinois. If you know of other haunted roads in northern Illinois, we'd love to hear about them. Maybe someday we'll address southern Illinois, which has a few haunted roads of its own. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and please tell your friends.